Stop. If you could cheat your way to bagging £12,893 per month through betting, would you? Of course you would. Who wouldn't? You're surely aware about the power behind the professional sports betting by now. The fact you've landed on this page tells me you're more than interested in the money-making potential of betting. And with at least £500 billion in the market this year alone, you'd be nuts to turn a blind eye to this tax-free income. Before we move on to how you can take your slice of this multi-billion-pound pie, just pause for a moment. Imagine the change you'd feel if you'd had access to the exact bets that I've used to swap my Ford Mondeo to a BMW X5, swap my terraced house in a rough council estate to a semi-detached, heart-warming home in the suburbs. Imagine changing that feeling of tipped over the edge by money worries to feeling like life is picking up the bill for you, and you just have to leave the tips. I know it might sound like some hippie abstract concept at first, but it's now a proven scientific fact. The tipping point is in effect everywhere, and you're about to use it to make yourself a ton of cash, tax-free cash. The tipping point is that crucial, pivotal moment that has a significant impact on the outcome of an event with even the tiniest of movement. Just watch as I reveal how you can gain access to the crucial elements that tip your bets over the financial edge, from a tiny stream with no real cash flow to speak of, to a waterfall of money flooding your bank account. What I'm about to show you is by no means a magic pill, overnight quick fix, or winning lottery ticket. Before I show you exactly how this works, let me introduce myself. My name is Jimmy Holden. I'm a real professional bettor with a real passion for making big money through horse racing. For the most part, I've been hugely successful, and my personal wealth is something that I no longer need to worry about. My dad, Billy Holden, was an avid punter and a real treasure in the betting community. He always taught me about the unwritten rules of racing, and still to this day, something he said stands true and resonates with me now more than ever. And that's the fact that there are a few ugly truths in betting that no amount of money can hide. So I'll promise to be upfront and honest about everything. If you promise you won't turn off your computer and run away screaming. Deal? Okay, here it is. Punters are experiencing the double-edged sword right now. The true reason you're still stuck, not understanding how the big money is made betting online, still waiting for your big break, or you're feeling just downright unmotivated, is because you are fed bogus opportunities. Do you think the guys making serious money from betting are the same guys selling you garbage systems online? Of course not. In fact, more often than not, the people who sell you horse racing products know nothing about the sport at all. And likewise, the punters who do have real systems don't have a clue about how to go get their systems noticed in the online community. I've even heard phony punters claiming a high-tech robot that took 10 years to develop is now going to turn you into an overnight millionaire. Wow, what BS. These people probably think a furlong is when a horse hasn't had a haircut in a while. Ha ha. But the truth remains. There are profitable systems out there. You know it. This is a system that not only understands when to start capitalizing on a new trend in horse racing, but how to predict the trend before it even happens. Sounds impossible, right? Wrong. Think about it. Everything is based on trends. The only problem is the systems you've seen scattered around the internet are rubbish because their selections are based on understanding previous trends. This is why you have been losing. Your selections are based on the past repeating itself, instead of predicting how the future will be different from the past. And this is why my incredible Tipster service is about to stop you and your losing trend and start a whole new pattern of winning. This system is custom built to recognize and interpret a winning trend before it's even begun. How does it do this? Well, I'll give you a brief overcomb of just how I can do this, and how in a few minutes you too can rack up profits of over £3,689.43 per week, And all of that is tax-free. Of course, that kind of money is not from £10 bets. But with an incredible 187% weekly ROI, any kind of budget is going to make substantial gains regardless. My formula is a unique blend between my 12 years' experience in pure horse racing knowledge and what is universally referred to as the tipping point. Now, I always knew from very young that there were many ways to go on about betting on horses, but one thing I kept seeing and wondering why the hell people do it is betting on favourites all the time. Even my dad used to laugh at blokes down the pub bragging about their high strike rate, yet still not have enough coppers to buy the next round. Sure, sometimes a quick cash in for a few pounds here and there is okay, but when your system has a 67% strike rate, you know something isn't quite right, and it's not the amount of winners. 67% seems reasonable enough on favourites, but even with this high strike rate, you still won't actually make any money. The first thing I wanted to do when setting out to get rich from horse racing is to make sure I was winning on mid to high odds regularly. Otherwise, what's the point? You won't make any money. Whilst there is no doubt a bunch of useless favourite-based systems, there are almost as many systems that specialise in long shots. But again, the major drawdown of this is that the winners are few and far between. The crafty marketeurs behind these systems simply place a ton of long shot bets, lose 99% of them, and then brag about the one or two winners like they're a daily occurrence, when in all reality they're about as regular as the blue moon. Think about it. If they did make so many 17-to-1 winners, do you really think they'd sell that to you for less than £100? Exactly. Just wouldn't happen, would it? Generally, even the good systems give excellent results for a short while, and then bookies tweak up their ways and odds to make your system useless. But you must always remember, bookies make money only when you lose. They'll soon find loopholes in your system to ensure that you don't take home profits. What you're about to invest in is based on the bookies' alteration of the odds to try and counteract any current trends, and that's the reason it is timeless. It is simply matchless. Introducing the Daily Tipping Point. The Daily Tipping Point is timeless. It's a revolutionary new tipster service that is guaranteed to make up to 1,350% ROI with every winning bet. Whilst it won't win 9 out of 10 bets like some bogus systems might claim, the ridiculous return on each winning bet provides enough profits to sustain a consistent weekly ROI of around 187%. Now, let me explain exactly how I used my late father's knowledge and a lifetime of experience alongside the tipping point to create this revolutionary system. I began by comprising the results of all the races that took place in the UK, where the winners had odds between 5-to-1 and 9-to-1. Then I worked out from those numbers which odds had a higher net profit based on their totals in each of the seasons. And it wasn't before long I was tracking all sorts of ridiculous stats and being swamped with a ton of fresh info every day. So, naturally, when looking at this mountain of information, I started putting everything down onto spreadsheets and recording everything in a more calculated manner. There are so many complex factors in finding a strong correlated pattern for winning horses, each having a different bearing on the possible trend. I was actually getting dizzy with the amount of numbers in the beginning. It took hundreds of hours stat tracking before I could even begin to predict future winning horses. Each minute detail, the details appearing on the race card, the demographics of the horse, the location and the time of the race, bearing of jockeys and trainers in the race, the form, everything else that could have an impact on the race was there in some form of spreadsheet or pie chart. Against each of the winners, I even jotted down additional data, such as the number of times the horse won, the other horses in the race, and so forth. It didn't take long before I saw basic patterns and trends for mid to long range winners. But it wasn't until I noticed one particular number relationship that opened my eyes to the power of the tipping point. The bookie's odds. It all made sense. I'll put it in layman's terms for you to see the logic for yourself. Take, for instance, flat courses involving only 8 horses during 2011. There'll be a strong trend in the winners of those races. So, for example, let's say the highest proportion of profit was made from horses with odds of around 7-1 that year. But as the year drew to a close, there was a sharp decrease in the number of winners around the 7-1 region. And in the last 2 months, horses of only with odds of around 3-1 were the most profitable. Now, this tells us that a trend is coming to an end, and it's because the bookies are getting savvy and killing the pattern before you ever catch wind of it. When there's a strong trend of winners with mid to high range odds, the bookies track all of those winning horses and backtrack them to find the most important factors as to why these horses are consistently winning at such long odds. Once the bookmakers and their stat tracking teams find the key elements behind the trend, all horses with matching criteria and similar odds will have their starting prices drastically reduced in order to cancel out any chance of you making more profits. They don't allow trends like this to stay in place in fear of some savvy punters, such as me and you, find out about it and make a killing from it. That's why they pay thousands for stat trackers to follow these trends and gradually change the odds to make sure the trend doesn't continue. Now, although roughly the same amount these horses are winning, their odds are made so much smaller that there is no longer a profit to be made. All of a sudden, a different set of odds will bring home the most profit. And slowly but surely, this will signal the start of a new trend. Now, you're beginning to understand the power behind the tipping point in horse racing. You're still wondering how my discovery affects you directly? Well, it means everything to you. The daily tipping point, whether you like it or not, will be pivotal to you today, tomorrow, the day after. It's just a universal law we all have to live with. But now, thanks to my generous nature, I'm willing to allow a few hundred lucky punters the chance to gain access to the very tips every single day and make the same kind of ridiculous profits I do. You can now spend your entire life earning tax-free punting profits. By looking at the failing systems, learning from their mistakes, and focusing on the tipping point of horse racing trends, I've been able to formulate a system that produces regular, consistent winners from odds of 7-1 and higher. You can expect to regularly win on horses with odds of 5-1 upwards, meaning no more 60% strike rate with no real profits to talk about. I've spent over a dozen years studying the patterns and trends behind the tipping point, and I've managed to use this principle alongside your more conventional betting wisdom, such as recent form and starting prices and so on, to make not only winning selections, but winning selections with the highest possible average net profit. The more you think about it, the more it makes sense. I'm sure you're wondering how the daily tipping point fares against competitors. Well, there is no competition. I am not one of the internet marketers. I am a racing enthusiast, and I spend a lot of my time and effort to find something new, something better to improve my profits. I continuously develop and refine my formula to ever increase the accuracy of my system. Sadly, there's not a single system, guide, or anything else that is close anyway to the daily tipping point. Look for yourself. You can either try from scratch or work like a zombie to try and set up a new system as efficient as mine. It'll likely cost you a few years, and of course a few thousand from loss of earnings, and still there would be no guarantee that the system would work as effectively as mine. Do you have the time and the patience to create a system that can generate over £12,000 every month and deliver 187% ROI weekly? I didn't think so. It took me the best part of 50 years, so there's no point in you trying now. So how exactly are you going to make this glorious money? Okay, here's how. Now, I don't expect you to learn everything about my system. I don't expect you to spend your time thumbing through it every time you want to make some money, or else you'd spend half of your day staring at a computer screen instead of enjoying your time and money. So I'm going to make it easy for you. Instead of trying to give you some cheap, shabby ebook with millions of pages of theory and a bunch of explanations as to why my system works, instead I'm going to bite the bullet for you. With the daily tipping point, you'll receive all that day's qualifying horses straight to your inbox first. Think of it like an injection of cash right into the bloodline of your bank account. You'll not receive the system itself, as this puts everyone at risk. If it was uploaded for people to just illegally download online, it wouldn't be long before the bookmakers had a copy and changed their odds accordingly. So, for that reason, I'm going to make it easy and safe for you by sending your winning selections in an email first thing in the morning. You'll be hands-free. You heard me? You won't have to do a thing. Simply let your clicking do the talking. My system's ability to foresee trends and utilize a mathematically proven tipping point in the horse racing industry is the sole reason you're about to make you thousands of pounds. Now, you must understand, I can't afford to let this system out to the whole community. As it's so intricate and powerful, the bookies will alter their odds to counteract it, something they're already trying to do as we speak. But so long as I hold this close to my chest and only allow a few hundred people like yourself into this exclusive club, we can all make money together. As I told you earlier, I'm a racing enthusiast. I don't sell systems for a living. My bread and butter comes from punting. I agreed to launch the daily tipping only because some of my closest friends who I make money for with the system insisted I do it, and there's no way I could dishonor their request. But be warned. You need to make a decision right now and decide if you want to continue on with your life exactly how it is, or jump at this seriously discounted offer for 5-star accumulator. I want to make this absolutely clear. I'm going to supply you with a bomb-proof, 100% secure, 60-day money-back guarantee. If at any point during the next 2 months you are not happy with the incredible profits Daily Tipping Point delivers, then just have your money right back. I won't be touching it. No one will lay your hands on your money. It'll be in a safety box, if you will. And if at any time in the first 60 days you're not happy, then just take it out of the safety box and back into your pocket. So, if you want to see the same kind of ridiculous tax-free cash profits I am, then allow yourself to test drive the daily tipping point and see if it doesn't tip your financial scales in the right direction. By now, you realize that the daily tipping point is your opportunity to make real money today. This big break will not be available forever. So exploit this opportunity right now by simply clicking the Add to Cart button underneath this video. Only for bettors who want to make the real money out of horse racing. I'd like to wish you all the best of luck in your success. From yours truly, Jimmy Holden. And remember, you've got nothing to lose. So act now.